Hey, how are you? Welcome to Laird Wellness Live. Scott Laird, Jody Laird.
Good evening.
So, I'm assuming you've all tuned in to find out how you can get 1,900% more energy and how the heck that is possible.
Right.
So, that's what seems to be outlandish, but I'll show you the math in just a second. I won't keep you in suspense. What we're talking about is ATP, adenosine triphosphate. That is basically the energy created. It's an energy carrying molecule found in, created by your mitochondria, which is basically, you've probably heard it as the energy factory in every cell. And that's what it is.
Right.
And so how much ATP is created depends on how much magnesium you get. We're going to talk all about magnesium tonight with Pharmacist Billy Wease. Right. He knows so much I call him Dr. Billy Wease. Anyway, we're going to show a few clips from an interview that I just had with him about all kinds of stuff. You're going to want to take notes on this one.
Right.
This is such good stuff. So basically, the long and the short of it is, how do we get this 1,900% more energy? Okay, so through everything that Billy's going to share with you tonight, you're going to realize, and he says it a couple of times, that if you get enough magnesium, essentially you're going to allow the cells to create, through the mitochondria, 38 ATP. Now, if you don't have enough magnesium, if you're magnesium deficient, all of these symptoms are going to come your way. You're going to hear Billy talk all about them. And it's only going to allow that mitochondria to create 2 ATP. So there you go. Do you want 38 units of energy, or do you want 2? 1,900% more,
right.
19 times more, if all you do is get more magnesium. You wouldn't believe all of the correlations that magnesium has for heart disease, fibromyalgia, pain, chronic fatigue, headaches. What else did he mention? Menstrual cramps.
Oh, wow.
All kinds of stuff. Just because of the energy that you allow your body to have if you have magnesium. And you think, okay, well, I thought magnesium was for going to bed at night or having like an Epsom salt bath or something like that. Yes, and yes. It does it all. It actually allows your body to get rid of the junk at night, the autophagy that we've talked about a couple of times, that allows your body to get rid of all the junk in the cells and allows you to sleep and builds energy as you sleep so that you have energy when you wake up. Right. How about that? And you'd be surprised how much magnesium you actually need and whether or not you're actually getting that in the supplement you have, just because of labeling issues, which he's also going to touch on. So it's all kind of crazy stuff.
And so many people are magnesium deficient.
Oh, I didn't realize I was until I had this. And here's another thing too. So at the end of the show, we're going to give you a code to basically get 15% off magnesium. We're also going to give you a code for something else. We're going to have like 2 specials at the end of the show. But essentially, we started carrying. We have Billy Wease's magnesium already. It's the black bottle with the purple label. You've probably seen it. You probably ordered it. Now we are carrying. You might see that the price jumped. It went from like $36 to $48.
Right.
But we are also giving you twice as much magnesium.
Right.
Because after talking to Billy and realizing how much we all need, we used to carry a bottle that had 90 capsules. Now we're not carrying that anymore. We're only carrying the bottle that has 180. Because we want you to take heart with this. And it's a really cheap supplement if you look at it. And, for all the things it can do, it is so worth it. In fact, you'll hear Billy say that if he was stuck on a deserted island like Gilligan's Island, the only supplement he would want, if he could have one supplement, was magnesium.
Right.
And the dude sells magnesium and other supplements for a living. He could pick any supplement he wanted, and he wants magnesium. So you're going to hear all about that tonight. So we're going to play the videos for you. If you've ever tuned into Laird Wellness Live before and we promised videos, sometimes they don't work. So let's hope they work. Fingers crossed. I hope they work. Anyways, if they don't, I got the notes and we'll, I went through them all. So we'll give you all the notes anyway if it doesn't work. But anyway, I'd like you to be able to see the video. So we are going to go into that now, unless you'd want to say anything else, Jody, at this point. So what we're going to do is we're going to play 3 clips. So after each clip, we're going to come back and basically review what we watched and make sure that you understand the high points and what you need to understand and take home and really concentrate on. So we'll be doing that after each one. Each clip is about 5, 6, 7 minutes, something like that. So they're not that long. Okay. So anyway, pay attention, have fun, and here we go with the first clip from Billy Wease. Let's all pray that this works. Here we go.
You are a pharmacist who likes to see to their lives. Why is that?
Well, magnesium has over 350 positive functions in our body. 80% of Americans are found to be deficient, and in certain research, 100% of diabetics. So magnesium is the fourth most abundant mineral in our body, 3,751 binding sites in our body. So it's critical to have adequate magnesium levels for someone to have what we call optimal health, right? Okay. I talk about optimal health all the time. It's critical for energy. It's critical for muscle function, the heart, the brain. I mean, it really works in every part of our body.
When I do blood testing for folks with my company, Laird Wellness, and so we do blood testing for folks, and then we find out what they need to change in their lives. And quite often, they see a magnesium level, and they have a reaction about that. But you say that doesn't matter on a blood test, right?
Yeah, it really doesn't matter, Scott, because the bulk of the magnesium in the body is supposed to be working inside the cells. That's where it produces the energy and does all the magic for us.
Okay.
So when we do a blood draw, a typical blood draw does not measure what is inside the cell. So it's really not an accurate measurement of what's in the body. I tell everybody, if you already see a low magnesium level in that type of blood draw, you have real deficiencies inside the cell. But if you have adequate magnesium in that blood draw, it does not necessarily mean that you have adequate magnesium inside the cells and the organs where it's really doing its work.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. Now you mentioned binding sites. For those who are not familiar with that term, what does that mean? There's several hundred binding sites for magnesium.
Yeah, so there's 3,751 binding sites in our body for magnesium. So that means that those are places that the body is looking for magnesium to come and like open the door and produce energy, relax muscles, help with migraines, PMS kind of cramps. You go through the list and there's just tons of things.
Wow. Now, one of the most common things I describe to people when they say, well, why do I need magnesium? I explain the muscles. You just mentioned the muscles. So that calcium contracts muscles and magnesium relaxes them. And of course, the heart is the most important muscle in our body. And so it's constantly contracting and expanding. So would that explain something like if someone has a heart murmur or an arrhythmia or something like that, they don't have enough magnesium?
Absolutely. It can be a sign that they don't have enough magnesium. So over the past 30 years, I've seen many people's AFibs or murmurs, arrhythmias just be completely alleviated by starting the right magnesium and the right amounts. And so it doesn't mean that's the only cause of those conditions, but it certainly can be a simple thing to check first and to look at first before we go into dangerous drugs for an arrhythmia, right?
Now, speaking of drugs, so arrhythmia, and you've already mentioned diabetes. And I'm sure a lot of people's ears perked up because a lot of folks in America have diabetes. So what is the connection with magnesium and diabetes?
Well, so magnesium plays a critical role in the body's ability to metabolize sugar and to utilize the insulin that's necessary to metabolize that sugar. So when we're deficient in magnesium, we're not able to efficiently metabolize sugar and insulin. So now we have higher blood sugar levels, and it requires the body to try to make more insulin through our pancreas to take care of that, because the blood sugar in the sugar in the blood when we have high blood sugar is damaging our organs. So the body is trying to do whatever it can to take care of that, and that often creates higher insulin levels. We call it hyperinsulinemia, and that's a real problem because it creates inflammation and it just creates a havoc in the body.
Now, for those folks that you see in your pharmacy that come in with diabetes, are they familiar with that connection?
Oh, no. It would be very rare that a patient would know, even that a pharmacist or a doctor would know. It's just not really talked about, Scott. In general terms, people don't, in the medical field, don't typically think, oh, maybe we need to look at magnesium, right?
Right. Huh. Now, something else that's interesting about magnesium, and there's several different types of magnesium. And the one that's most common, I guess, out there's magnesium oxide, we see a lot. Now, is that the one that just makes people go to the bathroom, where they know magnesium is to go to the bathroom?
It is the one that makes people go to the bathroom, and it's because it's only 4% absorbed. So magnesium oxide is only 4% absorbed, and so when we're talking about increasing red blood cell magnesium and magnesium in the organs, magnesium oxide was equivalent to placebo.
Really?
So it is not what we're discussing here today and all the benefits of magnesium. Think of if you were going in for a colonoscopy test, you would drink a big bottle of magnesium oxide to help you empty your colon out. So it's just really a laxative at that point.
Okay, so it isn't inside the cells, and that's the key. All right, so we're going to
correct.
talk about what are some good forms of magnesium, and a lot more coming up. Stay tuned. We are going to come back with another segment with Billy Wease on The Health Awakening. Stay with us.
All right, well, there you go. So, very important stuff, very good information there, I think. So 80% of Americans are deficient in magnesium, so you might as well just consider yourself deficient. Why? Because magnesium is not one of those things that is retained in the soil. There's, you hear about over-farming and this kind of thing, and we're depleting nutrients. Well, which nutrients are we depleting? Calcium's not one of them, for whatever reason. There's plenty of calcium. We just don't get enough magnesium. And so you heard Billy talk about the interrelationship between calcium and magnesium. So calcium contracts muscles and magnesium relaxes them. So if we don't have enough magnesium but we have enough calcium, we're going to get this contracting going on. Well, what is that? Well, that looks like heart arrhythmia is what that is. And a lot of people have unnecessary procedures, I think, just because they're not exploring all their options. Now, maybe it is medically necessary, but a lot of the time it's just not having enough magnesium, for example.
And having too much calcium.
Right. And one of the most important things I think he said was that 100% of diabetics are deficient in magnesium. 100%. Every single diabetic.
Wow.
Yeah. And then you heard how why the reason is for that is that magnesium controls blood sugar. And so it helps metabolize blood sugar and insulin properly. So you don't have this rising insulin. And I tell you what, when we're doing our Laird Wellness Live, our Laird Wellness blueprint thing that we do, the biologic blueprint, I can't remember the name of our own program.
The blood draw?
The blood draw. Yeah, yes. We often find that folks have high insulin. Why? Because the body has two fuels. It has sugar and it has fats. And in America, we're conditioned to eat all the time and little bits, and so we go from carb to carb to carb to carb, and it's like I explained to somebody last night, that raises your insulin level, and
it stays up there. It doesn't come back down because you're constantly feeding your body these small meals.
Exactly, it's like a drug addict going from one high to the next. You'd never stop, and so when you eat fat as a fuel, that gives you larger meals, more time in between, and you eat a larger meal again. And so that gives your body time to recuperate. And that's what intermittent fasting does as well, which we recommend for a lot of folks as well. So that was the first clip from Billy. Very informative. And I think the most shocking thing I learned there was that, doctors are not going to recommend magnesium. They don't even think about this, which is strange. I mean, most doctors, I'm sure some are on the ball and they realize this, but, really not a lot of them do. Right. So this next one here, we're going to talk about the difference between regular magnesium and elemental magnesium. And essentially all we're saying there is that when you're looking on the label of a magnesium supplement, what you're seeing there, it says, typically 400 milligrams. Well, 400 milligrams of what?
Right.
Magnesium?
What kind of magnesium?
Yeah, what kind of magnesium? Is it magnesium? Are there fillers included in that number? And is even the capsule weight included in that number?
Yes.
Interesting. And you're going to learn what Billy does instead so as to avoid confusion. And what is included in his supplement. Essentially, he couldn't find a good enough one, so he made his own. He's a compounding pharmacist. He can do this. Right. So let's listen to Billy and see what he says about the different types of magnesium.
Now, you have developed a product of your own, basically because the way you explained it to me, you couldn't find a good one.
Correct, yes.
So which good ones did you put in here? We're going to talk about elemental magnesium in a second, too, why that matters. But you have 5 different kinds of magnesium in this product of yours. Why?
Yeah. Well, I have 5 organic chelated salt forms of magnesium because they work down different pathways in our body. So each of those 5 works together, but they work separately also. So we're able to then take absorbable forms of magnesium, get them into the red blood cells, into the organs, into the tissues where they work, and we're able to increase energy. We're able to help the heart beat more effectively. We're able to decrease any kind of muscle cramps, migraines, headaches, PMS kind of cramps. I mean,
wow.
It just does so many, able to help the insulin and sugar work more efficiently, as we discussed in the last segment. So we're just able to take these different forms. Malate is the most, malic acid is found in almost every cell in our body and helps produce energy. So one of the forms, the most abundant form in here is magnesium malate, because it helps the body produce that malic acid that we need.
Now let's talk about that. So in each of our cells, we have something called the mitochondria, the little, as people have described it, it's the little energy factory of every cell. And so when we are low in magnesium, you've told me before that the energy that is produced there, it's almost like that factory doesn't have the fuel it needs without magnesium.
Yeah, the way I explain it is, when the body is working efficiently, the front door opens very easily, and the energy goes in, and we make the ATP is what it's called.
Okay.
Adenosine triphosphate is like that engine, that energy. When we go through the front door, we make 38 units of ATP each time, and you can think of hundreds of trillions of cells in your body that's happening in. When we're not able to go in the front door efficiently, and magnesium is the #1 rate limiting factor to not going in the front door efficiently, which is why it is so common in diabetics, have to go in the back door, and then we're only producing 2 units of energy. So we're producing 19 times less energy, which leads to things like chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, cramps, pains, brain fog, high blood pressure. I mean, you can go through the list, right? If you're making 19 times less energy, you don't feel good and your body's not working efficiently.
I'm sure everybody can name at least one of those maladies. High blood pressure, at least, the diabetes, the arrhythmias. Everybody's got something there. So does that mean that a lot of people are low in magnesium?
Well, 80% of Americans, according to the research, and I think I mentioned earlier that 100% of diabetics in some research were magnesium deficient. So one of the common things is, our food supplies are obviously not the same. We're not typically growing our own stuff, and so we're mineral deficient in our food. And then there's so many prescription drugs that deplete magnesium, and it just goes completely overlooked, typically in the medical community. Again, the pharmacists and the doctors never think of the depletion of magnesium from lots of common drugs, Scott, can deplete magnesium.
Now, is that ever a concern where magnesium will be contraindicated with somebody's drug?
Magnesium would typically not be contraindicated with any drug. Yeah, no. Now, somebody with kidney failure, we would need to make sure and monitor their dosage of magnesium, but not really any interaction with drugs. Maybe with some antibiotics, you would want to separate it a little bit.
Okay.
But other than that, no interactions typically.
Now, speaking of kidney disease, you've told me before that when people have stones of any kind in the body, that's typically calcium related, and magnesium, to my understanding, it's the antidote to calcium?
Well, magnesium pushes calcium into the bones, where 99% of the calcium in the body should be in the bones and in the joints. And so magnesium helps to take the calcium and put it where it belongs. High calcium levels in the blood can lead to arterial calcification, which is obviously a bad thing. It can lead to gallstones. It can lead to kidney stones. And magnesium, yes, is the antidote for those things, along with vitamin D and vitamin K in the right forms, but magnesium is the #1 thing.
Now, speaking of the right forms, you talked about the 5 different forms that you have in your formulation, and you're always adamant to say that this is elemental magnesium.
Yes.
What does that mean when people are reading the front of the bottle and they see however many milligrams?
Right. So 3 capsules of my product contain 100 milligrams, but it's elemental magnesium. So there's a big confusion because of the quality of what we do and the organizations that we go through to verify everything we do. We put every ingredient in elemental amounts versus total weight amount of a capsule. So when you see 3 capsules equals 100 milligrams of magnesium, it's true elemental magnesium. It's not fillers, it's not additives, it's not capsule weight. So 400 milligrams of magnesium in a typical capsule is what you would see on the store shelf. Well, how much magnesium is really there? Well, because there's no regulations, we don't know. So we're giving the numbers on the label for the part that you really care about and that really matters to your body's ability to use it.
Okay, now we're going to talk more about that in the next segment, but first I want to ask you, how much do you take, or how much does a typical person, I mean, you probably take a little more than this because you know what's good for you, but what do most people do?
Most people with our product will take at least 3 at bedtime.
Okay.
3 to 6 would be the most typical dose at bedtime.
I do 4. So
okay,
that's right in the middle. Yeah.
And then we encourage people to take 1 or 2 in the morning and 1 or 2 at lunch.
Okay.
Because magnesium has so many benefits during the day, but at night it is so relaxing. We improve people's quality of sleep, their deep sleep, very quickly, typically the first night or 2.
Now, when people say, okay, well, you're telling me it relaxes me, am I going to fall asleep at my desk if I take 2 during the day?
Just the opposite.
Really?
That's the beauty of magnesium is it actually relaxes us to sleep, but it increases the energy at night while we sleep. So that the body can do all the cellular cleanup, like take out the trash at night, right? It's called autophagy.
Yeah.
Where the body is cleaning up bad cells and things that we put in that need to go. And so magnesium has an amazing ability to produce energy while it relaxes us. So during the day, no, it's going to make you more alert.
Oh, great. Wow. Okay. So it doesn't mess up our circadian rhythm at all. Okay. Very interesting. All right. Well, we are talking with pharmacist Billy Wease about magnesium. We'll be back with more from The Health Awakening. Stay with us.
Okay, there you have it. So all kinds of new information there that I learned about.
And one of the reasons why we went to the bigger bottle, right?
Yep.
So
that's why you want to take more. In fact, since we recorded that and I said I take 4, I now take 6 overnight.
6 at bedtime.
Six at bedtime.
And what do you take during the day?
And I'm trying to take 1 in the morning, like you said, and 2 at lunch, if I remember. Now, have I noticed a difference there? No. What I have noticed at night when I take 6, by 4:35 in the morning, I'm wide awake, ready to go, which I thought was kind of weird.
That's interesting.
So, yeah. And if I try and just lay there and go back to sleep, doesn't work. So I'm pretty much up at 4:30 in the morning.
At about 4:30 in the morning, you've had then 6.5, 7 hours.
6.5, 7 hours, something like that. Yeah, 6. If we go to bed at 10, something like that, wake up at 4:30. So it makes it's making my sleep more efficient because I don't feel drained.
I'll tell you what I'm doing now. I am doing the couple in the morning, couple at lunchtime, and the rest at night. So I'm usually doing about 8 to 10 a day.
Okay.
And it does help me. Too much information, but it is helping me be more regular. And as a woman, I think we have a harder time going to the bathroom on a regular basis. So that is helping me there, absolutely.
Okay,
which is what I wanted in the first place. We had supper with Billy a few weeks ago, and he's like, Jody, you are not taking enough. And I'm like, okay, let's start.
Yep. And you'll notice that he said that the magnesium oxide is the last one in his formulation. So in other words, it's the least amount in there because the idea of this supplement is not to go to the bathroom. Right. It is the least absorbed form of magnesium. So he didn't want to include that. He said, when someone goes for a colonoscopy, they give you a whole bottle of magnesium oxide. So and that's what makes you go to the bathroom. So this is just a little bit to sort of ease that a bit, but all these other ones have all these other different qualities to them.
The other thing with magnesium oxide is a lot of people who do the keto diet, but they don't do clean keto, they do dirty keto. They have to take that in order to go to the bathroom. And then a lot of CrossFitters who happen to be keto eaters also take that magnesium, but they're not probably getting the full benefit of all the different magnesiums because they're really only taking the oxide.
Yeah, that's not good. No. Yeah. So also, I don't know if you heard in there too, that magnesium is the antidote, if you will, to calcium. Where if you got gallstones, if you have kidney stones, if you have, arterial calcification, magnesium will help to draw that calcium out of where it does not belong and push it to where it does belong. So that is probably, to me, that's the most important thing about calcium. So anyway, we're going to listen to this next one now.
Yep. And one thing, Petra has a question here,
Okay.
but I was just going to say, do you want to answer it now or at the end?
We can answer now.
It's not about magnesium.
Okay.
But it is about, kind of the same thing. She heard that a lot of people with heart problems should not use vitamin D3 with K.
With heart problems, they need to be doing that.
Right.
Because if you take, here's the thing. So if I'm trying to, figure out what this doctor is referring to, but if it was from a doctor, just something she heard.
Just something she heard.
Okay, so yes, so if you take vitamin D3 without K2, so if you take, for example, the D3 that Billy has, which is really powerful, like 50,000 IU per pill, if you took that every single day for months on end, which you're not supposed to do anyway, you take it for either a short period of time or once a week, that kind of thing.
Right.
Now, if you took that much D3 without K2 for a long time, what would happen is D3 creates calcium. And then your body uses that calcium. But if there's excess of that calcium, that's where it deposits in where it doesn't belong, into the arteries, into the kidneys, into the gallbladder. So that's where you don't want it. K2 kind of has the same function as magnesium. It helps push the calcium where it belongs. That's why K2 is often and should be paired with vitamin D3.
Right.
So yeah, that has the same process. So if you take a whole lot of vitamin D3 without K2, you could end up with arterial calcification, which would cause problems for the heart. So there you go.
So we carry two D3s. One does not have K2 in it, but it's for those people who have really low vitamin D levels and need to get them up.
We need to ramp. Yeah, and what we do is we tell people to take one of those per day for 7 days, and that ramps them up. And then from then on, it's D3 and K2 to keep that good level up there.
And then we have the other one that is for, regular daily D3, and it has K2 in it.
Yep.
So that's after you get your levels up, you want to take a regular
That's the one you go on,
K2 D3 daily.
Yep, that's what we do.
Or unless you are getting adequate sun, you could skip a day. In the summer, you can take less. In the winter, you absolutely should take it every day.
And you think about in the summer, so you get vitamin D3 through the skin. Now, whether through a supplement or the skin, it's a different process. The skin, through the skin, absorbs more slowly, but it stays in your system for a longer time. If you take a supplement, it ramps up faster, but it also comes down faster. Makes sense. And what also makes sense is when you eat according to the seasons. So you think about this, when you're getting a lot of sun in summer through vitamin D3, what is also very abundant coming out of the garden in the summer is your greens. Well, your greens have a lot of K2 in them, or vitamin K. And so that is going to offset what you're doing with the sunshine. So it just makes sense to eat according to the seasons. Do we do that? We're not very good at that. I need to work on that more. That needs to be my next goal, is eating in season.
Well, eating whatever you want, whenever you want is too easy. But you never know where things are going. We might have to eat back according to seasons.
Exactly. I may have no choice.
Yeah.
So Billy's going to go into this next one here and talk about what types of drugs deplete the most magnesium. And one is really ironic, and that's what threw me when I did this interview with him. Really threw me. And so you're going to listen to the irony of this one particular drug that depletes magnesium, and it's supposed to do the opposite. So take a look.
And during the break, you just told me something interesting about the drugs that people take and the depletion that happens with that. Now, we touched on that earlier, but you said there were some that really kind of are alert.
Yeah, so like statin drugs, the most common drugs today in America for cholesterol reduction deplete magnesium. And so that can lead to real problems, right? Because now you can't produce energy as efficiently as you should be able to in the heart.
Okay.
And that's very important, right? And so typically a statin would be given for heart protection, but then it's hurting the energy to the heart. So we need to at least replace the things that these drugs deplete. So statin drugs, diabetic drugs like metformin, blood pressure drugs, almost the entire line of blood pressure drugs, diuretics, certain antibiotics, and of course things like chemotherapy and those kind of drugs.
That's crazy, because we talked about blood pressure, where magnesium will lower the blood pressure, yet you're taking a drug to lower blood pressure, and then it steals magnesium.
It does, and the sad part of that is, Scott, nobody is typically telling the patient, let's replace the magnesium. Let's replace the things that the drugs are depleting, and let's see if we can get a better result.
Wow.
Again, because drugs, as we've talked about on other shows here, 398 side effects is the number for the average prescription drug, and that's from the University of Stanford School of Medicine. So if we can minimize the use of prescription drugs by maximizing magnesium, vitamin D, you know, these other kind of things that have no side effects, I think that's always a win.
Now, if someone is thinking this on their own, not that you've, told people to do this, but even if their doctor is, unwilling to listen, if someone says, I wonder if I could try going off my blood pressure med and doing more magnesium, have you seen people do that?
Oh, we've seen a lot of people that have come off all their prescription drugs, yes, going through my OptiU program, using the right supplements, so yes. I mean,
wow.
But I tell everybody, I'm not a doctor. I can't tell you to take or not take what the doctor's told you to do, but if your blood sugar, your blood pressure, your whatever is normal without it, probably makes sense that you would want to work with your doctor and try to get off, right?
Right, exactly. And a good doctor will help you do that.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Now, we've talked about diabetes, heart disease, all these type of things, but some folks may not be thinking of other things regarding, magnesium deficiency, and that is Alzheimer's, ALS, Parkinson's, you told me, is even related to this?
Yeah, there's some research out of Japan and Australia that show pretty beneficial effects for all of the above, for the memory issues, the dementias, the Alzheimer's, and the Parkinson's.
Wow.
So yeah, magnesium deficiency is found in the spinal fluid in the brain of patients with these conditions. And they've seen improvement by replacing magnesium.
Now, another thing you told me that's surprising during the break, EMFs all around us, especially now with 5G towers and these ultra 5G towers. A lot of EMF coming off those things, even off of a hairdryer, your cell phone.
In your cars now.
Cars.
I mean, it's everywhere you go.
Electric cars. Think of a Tesla or a Prius that I have. The EMFs. In fact, I've taken an EMF meter and put it in the back seat, pinned it. So magnesium is related. So that takes magnesium out of the body, or how does that work?
Well, magnesium is protective against some of the ill effects of EMFs. So the EMFs destroy the cellular lining, the outside of our cells. And again, there's hundreds of trillion cells in our average body, human body. So when those cells the outer lining gets damaged, calcium will then leak out. And we've already talked about some of the issues with calcium leaking out, like heart blockage, in arteries, stones, and those kind of things. Well, magnesium is protected because it's a natural calcium channel blocker. So we've talked about how it tries to push calcium back into the bones and the joints where it belongs. And so, yes, magnesium levels can be very protective against EMF damage to our bodies.
Wow. Very interesting. All right, we're going to come back with more with pharmacist Billy Wease, talking all about magnesium. Hopefully some stuff you have never heard, some stuff I have never heard. So we'll be back with more on The Health Awakening. Stay with us. Welcome back to The Health Awakening. I hope you're learning a few things about magnesium, as I am, with pharmacist Billy Wease. Billy, before we go, we talked about all these different diseases, but they all start with inflammation. Does magnesium help with that?
Yes. Inflammation is a huge factor in almost every disease we see today. And magnesium certainly can help dampen the inflammatory processes in our body.
So that, now beyond even what we've talked about, Alzheimer's, high blood pressure, even heart disease, all these type of things. What else? Are we talking things like cancer?
Oh, absolutely. There's research that shows that it can help with cancer, and some of that benefit is believed to be the anti-inflammatory benefits, along with magnesium's ability to increase the delivery of oxygen through the microcirculation or the microcapillaries of our body. So it can help push oxygen to places that are a little bit tougher to get the oxygen to than the big vessels.
And really, that's where heart disease starts, isn't it?
That's correct.
In the micro, we think about the big arteries and getting a bypass, but that's really where it lies, right?
That's correct. I mean, there's so many small arteries within our heart and leading to our heart that can be a huge problem if we have calcification in those arteries.
Okay, so there you go. Lots of interesting information there, especially what you noticed and laughed about when we were watching it.
Well, a couple things. First of all, as soon as we're done, I got to take the rest of my magnesium.
Right?
And second of all, we're trying to be so conscious of, gas mileage and driving something that is good for the planet. And here it's pinging.
Get your Tesla.
Yeah. Pinging EMFs in our back seat.
Right.
So,
and the reason why it pings in the back seat, just interestingly enough, so I have a 2004 Prius. It's an old Prius, and the
Tell us how many miles.
287,000 miles on my Prius.
It just won't die, so we're not going to buy a new one.
No, I'm
going to
keep driving it.
Yeah.
It looks like garbage some days, but that's okay. So underneath the seat is where that battery bank is. That is the heart of the hybrid engine. So it has a regular car battery, but then there's all this bank of batteries that goes back and forth. When the engine isn't working, it's working off this battery bank, and that's right underneath the back seat. So that's why the battery or the EMF meter pings.
In the back
seat. So best place to ride in a Prius is the front. So anyway, another ironic thing I found too, the thing that shocked me was, so magnesium lowers blood pressure, and yet the meds people take to lower blood pressure take magnesium away. So now you're in the same situation. You don't have enough magnesium, and so you're gonna have to take more of the drug to lower the blood pressure because magnesium was doing the job in the first place. So my question is, why don't you just take magnesium?
And that whole merry-go-round where they say, okay, you need to take this drug, and then 2 months later something goes wrong in your body and you're like, oh, I have to take this other drug to deal with this drug.
Yeah, right.
And then
drugs upon drugs.
Right. Well, some of those issues could be that you've just depleted yourself from magnesium.
Yep. Absolutely.
So instead of taking another drug, you take magnesium. But, we can do some testing and see kind of where you're at that way.
Yeah.
And if you are on statins, talk to us. Because,
yeah, right?
Wow, that is something that can really easily be simplified in your life, and we can certainly help you out with that.
And sometimes when people take statins just because of an incorrect opinion out there as to when someone is crossing that threshold of needing a statin.
Not to mention the ranges that have changed since 2013.
Oh, yeah, you showed me that today earlier.
Yeah, you can look that up if you want. When did the ranges change, and what were they before, and what were they before that, and where we are today in society? It's kind of...
And take a guess.
All the same.
Now the recommendation that you see since 2013 is that you take a statin when it's lower than it was previously. Gee, I wonder why that is. Well, so that gets more people into the funnel of recommending statin drugs. Gee, big surprise
and
there.
And I'll tell you what, I look at a lot of labs, and how many percent would I say? I really need to count, but I know it's over 95% of people are high in their total cholesterol. But here's the thing. You got
according to the LabCorp reference interval.
Yeah, according to LabCorp. But optimal levels are different than LabCorp's levels. And we should do a whole show on this, but just really quickly, total cholesterol. Say your number is 200, and say you're working really hard, and your good cholesterol, which is your
HDL,
is a certain number, and then your bad cholesterol, which is your LDL, is a certain number. Well, if you work really hard one month and you say you lower your HDL by about...
Say your LDL, because that's one you're trying to lower.
Yeah.
So
So you lower your LDL by about 10 points, then your total cholesterol number goes down. But let's just say you raise your HDL because you're eating avocados that month, and you're like, wow,
exercising,
and you just brought up your HDL, which is your good cholesterol, by 10 points. You also brought up your total cholesterol to now 210. Uh-oh, alert. Now you need to go on a statin.
So because I raised my good HDL, which my doctor told me to do, I crossed over the threshold, and now he's telling me I need a statin drug. What?
That just doesn't make sense.
No. And where do we get... Yes.
Talk to us about that.
And guess who gave us that idea? Dr. Lewis, who does our blood tests. He's writing a book right now, and he's letting us look at some of the chapters before it goes into the book. And one of them is all about cholesterol and that very strange dichotomy that we just explained.
Yeah.
That's in his book. And it really makes you go, wait a minute. Yeah, that doesn't make sense. Another thing that doesn't make sense is EMF. So EMF, that's another thing I really learned from this interview with Billy. So it degrades the cellular lining of our cells, and when that gets damaged, calcium leaks out, but magnesium is a natural calcium channel blocker. So the more technology we have, the more magnesium we need. How about that? Speaking of needing magnesium, if you need some and you need to save a little cash, how about this? We're going to give you some. So right now, if you go to our website and you go to Root Awakening, you go to lairdwellness.com. Root Awakening does not have that, but we do.
We deal with a lot of websites too.
Yeah, we do a lot of websites. My book is available at Root Awakening if you want to get it there. Escape Route is available there. But if you want to get magnesium, you have to go to lairdwellness.com. You'll see magnesium on the front page there. And if you order it and you put this code in right here, at checkout, MAG15 in the discount code area, we'll give you 15% off.
And how long is that going to be for?
That's as long as we want it to be. As long as, if you're watching this many months from now, it might still be there. So we're going to just kind of keep that there for a little while. And we're not sure when it's going to go away. So take advantage of it now. Now, speaking of taking advantage of things, Jody, you have something special regarding this thing that we also offer. This is also on our front page.
Right. So through Health Revival Partners, that is where I work on a daily basis, along with Laird Wellness and my husband at nights. And we offer these blood panels. We also offer these blood panels through Laird Wellness. And if you purchase our coaching package, you'll get a blood panel on the beginning end and on the end. So we sandwich 12 weeks in there, and you get your blood tested twice. But right now, if you purchase, and you've never purchased before, this blood panel, and you purchase the $319 one, which is our 55 biomarker signature panel, we are throwing in $100 worth of markers and coaching for free. So you're going to use the code BONUS on our website when you do that. When I see BONUS and I do up your LabCorp order, I'm going to add in H. pylori.
Okay.
And chlamydial antibodies.
Okay.
And 1 hour of coaching with me. Now,
and those are all on top of that 55 biomarkers.
On top of that, H. pylori and chlamydial antibodies. So many people in this world have issues with those two markers. They don't even know they have it, but they are wreaking havoc on our health. So you'll get a 1 hour consult with you.
Yes.
But then you'll also get a 1 hour kind of consult / coaching session with me, where we will discuss whatever you want to discuss. We'll discuss, how to put the protocol into practice. Or we'll also do a 3-day food log, and I can take a look at your diet and kind of tweak that. Maybe get you doing some intermittent fasting and some keto if you want to lose weight.
If that's appropriate for you.
And have your sugars come down. We can talk about cholesterol if you're on cholesterol meds, all sorts of things.
Yep, exactly. Now, that is the test that we do include in the coaching, 12-week coaching that Jody talked about.
Right.
That's that same blood test. And we do that same one at the beginning and one at the end. So you can do just the blood test without the coaching just to see if you want to do it. And if you decide, maybe I do need a few weeks of coaching, we can add that in later if you want. So it's a good way to get your feet wet with this and see what this blood test tells you. And it's more than just the blood test. It's the algorithm. Well, you'll read all about it when you go online and you'll see it there. But you'll also get a 125 question intake form, which tells us all kinds of things to help us figure out what's going on with you. And also, what else comes with that now? There's the blood test, and and the coaching. That's what I was going to say. Yeah, and the coaching with you. So now what you'll have to do, again, if you buy that product, just the blood test, the $319 blood test, write the word bonus, just like you would with the magnesium and the MAG15. In that same area, you'd write bonus if you're ordering this. And what that'll do is it won't give you any money off, but it will tell us, add these extra free things in because we know you've watched this, and we'll know that that's the way you came in and that you get the bonus. So there you go. All right. Now, one other thing, if you want to just find out more about all of this, you can talk to me for half an hour for free at lairdwellness.com/blueprint, and that allows me to come in and tell you about everything that the Biologic Blueprint Wellness Program includes, all about the blood test, all about the coaching, all about how we do it and why we do it, and maybe find out why you want to do it, and really get down to brass tacks as to what are the real reasons why you want to do this, and it might surprise you. Yep. So anyway, that's a free call, and you can do that at lairdwellness.com/blueprint, and that's about it. All right. Yeah. So thank you for watching tonight, and hope you can take advantage of one of the things. We've talked about all kinds of goodies here tonight. Hope you take advantage of one of them, and we will see you next time. Thank you for watching Laird Wellness Live.
Take care.